Good afternoon, Onco Conquerors, and Suman here, your community leader. And it's a pleasure to be here with a very inspiring person who is fulfilling a very famous dialogue in his own real life. आपने सुना ही होगा, you must have all heard, especially Indians, बाबू मोशाय, जिंदगी बड़ी होनी चाहिए, लंबी नहीं. It's a very beautiful line and very relevant in this conqueror's life by being a good patient, being a good human being, and how he handled his diagnosis and the challenges in his cancer journey, even though he was in the last stage. But the way he approached towards this situation is like commendable and inspiring. And that is how today we are here to introduce him as a conqueror. So I would like to introduce the co-founder of the Simply HR, author of various professional books being published by him, and also an autobiography of his own journey of this cancer called The Good Patient. And also he's a great social worker. So here I would like to introduce you, Mr. Rajneesh Singh. Mr. Rajneesh Singh, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Suman, for having me. Thank you.
Awesome. So, sir, like before we begin, sir, would you like to say something about yourself, sir, as a person, as Mr. Rajneesh?
Sure, Suman. No, so I live in Delhi, and my wife, she's again a HR professional, and she does her own work while I run Simply HR, like you mentioned. We got a son, 20-year-old, so small family. And I've been a HR professional throughout my life. I love things outdoor. I'm a social media freak, as Suman would see me all in action on LinkedIn as well as Facebook. LinkedIn is where I met. LinkedIn is where I met Suman, in fact. So so I live in the moment. I think something that before the recording, Suman and I were discussing that it's so important to live every minute of your life to the fullest, and
Wow.
I think that has become all the more now important for me after I encountered cancer way back in July 2021. And I think over the last 1.5 years, it's been a pretty interesting journey, which of course I would like to share further as we go along. Yeah.
So, sir, like how did this cancer diagnosis affected your life, sir? Like,
sure. So I think when like any I shouldn't use the word tragic, but whenever something very unusual and unexpected news is broken to you, naturally you are caught completely underprepared. This was the last thing I wanted to hear from a doctor, that you are one of them who has a case of tumor, and this was colon, and the thing had spread to liver. So I think the moment I heard it, first I just couldn't naturally believe it, that this is happening to me, a guy like me, so who lives, really enjoys life and lives to the fullest and all that. So naturally, going by my temperament, I was very, very clear I'm going to handle it in a far more positive way, and rather than really buckle under a lot of stress and pressure. And naturally, I think when this news was broken, I was sitting with my wife in front of the doctor.
yeah.
Sitting with your partner when this kind of a news gets broken, you definitely both look at each other and then you figure out, okay, what the hell has happened. But I could see her also smiling, me smiling, and we said, okay, let's face this. So I was very clear from the moment one that this is something that has to be fought.
Yeah. So like when you started your journey, like what was your experience, and like while going through the treatment, and also like what kept you motivating to go through this? There might be times to when we go through all kind of side effects, and when we go through emotional, mentally, all that trauma, when we go through this, like what was your experience, how you overcame?
Yeah, so I think my understanding of these 18 months has been that this disease needs to be fought largely in the mind. And so if you're mentally very strong, and you're not constantly preoccupied with the disease and its repercussions, I think the more you focus on life, on work, on family, and think less of the disease, is how you really battle it out. So over the time when I was getting treated, my immediate thing was the surgery, because the case was bad. So immediate surgery happened. I took the surgery head on. That was one moment of 11 hours when I was in the OT and I was cut off from the world. And so,
Yeah.
so once you come, I think anybody coming out of an OT, you get a feeling of getting a second life. And that is what I felt when I was rolled out of the OT into the ICU. And I think that realization of seeing a day, next morning when I wake up, that feeling is of a very different kind. That you have survived this huge surgery and you've been, God bless the doctors, they've done their job, and now is my job. So I
Yeah.
think that the doctor's job got over at the OT, and then it was the individual's journey very clearly. And so thankfully, I think my wife, my son, they were very strong pillars,
Yeah.
which was a big help. I'm the youngest of four siblings, so my three siblings, their families. So we're a very close-knit family. So we were all very much together in the whole thing. Naturally, everybody was quite shaken up, but I think that whole togetherness of a family in times of crisis is how the family spirit or family ethos actually gets tested. You know, and I could get support from not only friends, not only family. I would say even my tons of friends. I mean, they
Yeah.
were like wishes pouring in, and naturally, it did rattle up many people, and they just couldn't believe that this guy has got this. So
Like it must be
naturally,
so overwhelming for you to know
it,
so
it
many people
was,
love you,
it,
care
it
for you,
was,
right?
yeah, it was so overwhelming, and people just couldn't believe it, and so their wishes, I think their prayers, all of that really came handy, and naturally it kept making my resolve stronger and stronger to battle on. And the good part, Suman, was that I had consulted few people, and I do, within my network of friends, I do have few friends who've been through this and who have been leading a very normal life for last 15, 16, 17 years. So I was more focusing on people like them, right?
Yeah.
And that you can survive, you can fight, you can lead a normal life. And which is what I did after the surgery. After my stitches were cut, I straight dived back into work. And that was important. So while my chemo was going on, I was back to work on my laptop and calls and what have you. So, like I said at the beginning, if you surround yourself more with work rather than thinking about the disease, I think that is where you're able to manage the
Yeah.
situation in a far better manner.
So it's like good to be busy with your work life and lead a
Absolutely,
normal life. You're saying that.
absolutely. Rather than just sit and withdraw yourself, isolate yourself, sit in a corner and just keep wondering why the hell this has happened and what will happen now to the family, what will happen to this, that. The other thing, of course, because I am the key guy at the top in my own firm, so you also think of your firm, of your team members, your colleagues. So that was another reason which was definitely pushing me to stay put, stay afloat, because anything happening to me would have had a very direct impact on the firm. And so which is what again was important for me, what kind of a message I was conveying, what kind of a body language I had when I was interacting with everybody. So I
Oh,
think all that definitely made one realize that you've got a very, very important role, responsible role. And so you can't just let this, overcome or completely engulf you. So I was very clear that that's not going to happen.
what were your learnings, sir, when you were going through this journey?
I think learning has been that when you go to doctors, and this is for everyone who is in the cancer journey, I think it's important to accept what the doctors say. In India, very typically the trust level on a doctor is fairly low. And we have this huge tendency of taking not only one opinion, but we'll take some 4, 5 opinions. Right? I have heard about many cases actually going from good, bad to worse because you were still busy taking opinions. I think it's important to trust your doctor, have faith in the person, and whatever they are advising, I think you should just move forward with it. That is learning number one, very clearly. Learning number two is very important. When we started our firm, when I got out of a job, and my chartered accountant told me that you're at that age now, getting to be 50. So important is to have a personal medical cover apart from what your firm is giving you. So we had a medical insurance cover as a firm, but we also took a personal cover, and which was of a far higher amount. Now that definitely, when this hit us, it was super helpful. Right? Everything went cashless, and we never really spent a penny. You know, so right from the surgery, the chemo, the staying in the room for a week or so. So I think number two is that you got to stay prepared in life after a certain age. And of course, when I'm saying age, Suman, it doesn't mean cancer doesn't happen to people below 50 and all. It's happening to anybody and everybody. Like a person like you also have been
Yes,
hit by it,
yes,
right?
yes,
And when I would go to the daycare center for my chemo, I would see children also howling
yes,
away, and so
yes.
so it's a disease which can hit anybody,
It's
and
like it
and
doesn't
so
have any age bar or a gender
no, not
bar.
at all,
It
not
can
at
happen
all.
to anyone.
Yeah, it can happen. So I think, and increasingly, I think the cancer is only spreading in our
Yes,
society,
yes,
and it's one of the fastest growing diseases. The good part, of course, is that the medical advancement is also happening at the same pace.
yes, yes,
That's why a lot of recovery cases are being heard of. So that is important. So second is on the financial cover. Third is, I think, importance of family. You really figure out, in a crisis like this, and how much of strength a family can bring to you or friends can bring to you. I think that's immense, and I understood the power of prayer. I would say, of collective prayers. I think so many prayers, people praying and going to temples and all, and I was just so touched. I was so touched, and I said, look, this the repay has to be of a very very positive story. The repay can't be that I'm just gone. So the last thing on my mind was that you know let's give up. So I think everything. So these top three things, the best guys to really consult, and then really have faith in them, the money part of the whole thing, and the family part of it. So for me, these three learnings have been pretty interesting, and I feel every other conqueror should be definitely building their own support system around all this.
yeah. So on the same line, sir, like, did you observed any gap in caregiving from the society around, like we've been quite blessed to have support, be it family or a medical treatment or maybe financial aspect, but there are many who don't. So like, do you see any gap, around this community of cancer warriors, which you think should be fulfilled? And what role as a friend or a neighbor or other people can play, like as per
Yeah,
you?
so I think increasingly people should understand that there is no stigma attached to cancer. It's not that it's something untouchable.
Yes,
And so that is on the other side of how people should be really reacting to a cancer patient. The other is how the cancer patient is pulling people together. And that is where something dawned upon me, and I started writing about my journey, which you mentioned briefly at the beginning, that such stories need to spread. Such communities are a very powerful platforms, I would say, which need to be leveraged by everyone. So the Mac support group has all the onco doctors also in the group. The paramedical staff is also, some of them are there, and then the patients whom they have treated. So it's a nice cross discipline kind of a group.
great.
And I believe that what you guys are doing. And since you guys have just gone live in December, I'm sure there's a lot to come. And how we grow this kind of a community will be very, very important. Yeah.
Yes. So I do believe that the support system is very much important,
Very,
be it family or be it from the society.
absolutely.
And so, like, what is your message to the newly diagnosed, be it whether they are on first stage or the last stage? Like it occurred, like as per your story, like you dealt with the last stage, sir. So I do not claim that everybody who is in the last stage can get the results what you could get. So
Very true.
thank to
Very
God,
true.
and we are
Yeah.
blessed to have you, and you're a
Yeah.
great example. But like, how to deal with the fears, sir? Like, if you can share your experience because you have gone through that. So
So I think one is that what has happened has to be accepted immediately. You can't be questioning it because the incident has happened. It's like an accident. The accident has happened. The vehicle has come and hit your vehicle.
yeah,
Period. Now, whether do I get out of my car and I start getting into a massive argument with the other driver and stuff like that is one way of approaching. The other approach is that I just back off my vehicle, I see what damage has been done, and then I move on. You know,
yeah,
I think the approach for any person getting diagnosed with cancer at whatever stage is that the you've got to put a very brave front. You just can't allow the disease to overpower you.
yeah,
Um, the more you do that, the chances become
yeah,
slimmer and slimmer. So my advice and suggestion would be that yes, it's not a great news to hear. There's no doubt about it. There is definitely a lot of fear in the mind, a lot of uncertainty in the mind, and honestly, you could be in different income groups. I'm still in a slightly better income group, so one knew that there is a financial backup in terms
yeah,
of insurance cover.
yeah,
But I know for sure there are so many families which have sold off their house, sold off their land, and come what may, and they're wanting to save the person. So yes, the ordeal is tough. So it is not an easy journey, honestly. Uh, but the only way to take it forward is that you got to put a very, very brave front and accept it that this has happened, and let's now take the next steps.
So, so like, you believe that we shouldn't be focusing on the stages or like the
So no,
diagnosis,
honestly, yeah,
but
Suman, you will be very surprised that
keep moving
yeah,
forward.
keep moving. And I was so when I asked my onco surgeon what stage am I, he said you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
That's academic, right? That's academic, and he brushed it aside, fully knowing that it was a very serious case, right? And I read about the stage 4 word on my report many months later. You know, nobody mentioned to me that it was a stage 4 thing. You know.
oh,
But yes, the day I got to know about it, that it was a stage 4, that day, of course, I thought, but then I was also happy that I was not told about it and I was, in a way, ignorant about it. And,
yeah,
the life had moved on. So at times, you also got to filter out certain information that comes to you. How much you allow that information to get at you. It's very critical that you smartly manage those layers of information and only pick up which are making a lot of sense and which are very, very positive in nature.
all right. So, sir, would you like to tell us something about this good patient, your book? Like,
Yeah.
who is this good patient?
I don't know. So, I by that time I had when I started writing it, I had just about done my pre-hospitalization stage, and so just about when I'm going to be admitted in the hospital is when I just started scribbling in the sense I'm
Yeah,
typing on
thank you
my
for
on my.
sending me this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. And and I just reflected upon the 10 days of pre-hospitalization stage when I was going through test after test, and how like a very nice schoolboy I was like going absolutely to the T, whatever doctors would say, whatever physicians, medical staff, and this is what you got to wear, this is what you got to do. I was like just flowing, and that is where somewhere this title of the whole thing came up as the good patient. That I've been a very disciplined fellow, and the doctors like me because whatever they say, this guy is doing, not questioning. And I believe very strongly now that those three words, the good patient, has had its own magic in the whole journey.
Yeah.
Because you've been supremely disciplined about whatever has been recommended, prescribed, so and that has helped big time.
Yeah.
And so I'm very happy that I covered this journey, pre-hospitalization, then post-hospitalization, then chemo journey of 6 months. I think all that gets wrapped up into this nice, I would call it a booklet. It's a very easy to read, like
It's
you would have realized.
like, not even a moment you feel like, that when you go through that bookstore, like, that something stressed about or fear about, the smooth journey, taking every day as a bonus, the way you have described, and death is a bitter truth. That is true. But like, the way you have taken your journey, it's like about the story reminded me about two friends, somebody
Mm,
gave a cycle to his friend and said, after 5 days, I'll come and, take.
mm, mm,
So every day, like, this guy will enjoy the ride of the cycle. He could never experience this pleasure. And, and then after fifth day, he started getting tense. My friend is going to come and take this cycle away. And it
mm,
happened that like this 10 days goes and he, every day, he couldn't enjoy the pleasure of having
mm.
that cycle with him. And then like, it's like, it's all about the way you what you did, you are enjoying that cycle every day. Let
Absolutely.
the
Absolutely.
person may come, like, zindagi jab bhi aani hai.
Mm,
So
mm,
that is
mm.
what has, like, is inspiring us, that, and that is maybe the reason that you could overcome the challenges. So that is
It's
inspiring.
about, yeah. So though you touched upon very interesting points, and it's so important, Suman, that in life you will get bad news. I mean, there is no
Yeah.
life which doesn't get bad news. We all have gone through that. And so when I was writing about it, I could have written a very serious stuff and could have scared everybody. Look,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
man, the hell has broken now. Heavens will fall. You don't know about your life, etc., etc. Right? The other way was to put it with a lot of fun, right? And
Yeah.
make the person smile, make the person lighter, make the person positive. I think that's the approach I took. And
Yeah.
so people who have read it, they say, Rajneesh, अब मैं फंस गया हूँ पढ़ते पढ़ते. I said, क्यों? तो बोले कि हंसी भी आ रही है और रोना भी आ रहा है.
Yeah.
So, and that is where, when I was putting it, the final touches on the booklet is when I remembered this dialogue of Anand.
Yeah.
It's one of our
And the
iconic
movie
movies.
itself is an example. He couldn't make it.
Absolutely.
He couldn't make it at
Absolutely.
the end. But the
Yeah.
way he lived
Lived
his
it.
life, the way he
Absolutely.
enjoyed his
Absolutely.
cycle, that is more
Absolutely.
important. And that is
That is
what you're inspiring us personally. And we are
absolutely.
so thankful to God and Almighty, and thankful to your positive approach, that today you are a great conqueror and you are inspiring the world with your story. But yes, like, this is the approach, is like, this is what we are supposed to do, be it what stage we are. So that is the message your life is giving, and we are so thankful for that.
My pleasure. My
Yeah. Would you
pleasure.
like to, like, give any message to us and the societies before we wind up?
I think it's important to, like we started. I think living life to the fullest is important.
Yeah.
And when some bad news strikes you, you should of course hear it, absorb it, but then quickly move on. I think rather than getting completely caught up in that and day in, day and night, losing your sleep, getting, not interested in work and stuff like that. I think those are some of the things. So important is accept the news quickly, and number two, move forward as soon as possible so that
Be a good
things
patient
can be,
like you.
and be the of course I would like the whole, so many the good patients around, and who knows, so much of positive energy will come out from these whole three words, the good patient, and it might
Definitely.
have its own impact. Yeah.
So, Thank you so much, sir. Even though you were taking a flight before this and you were willing to come forward and
Sure.
be willing to inspire us and inspire. And you're always available, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
we know, sir, that you being a good patient, you'll keep inspiring the world. And
Absolutely.
and the world will become a better place. Definitely
Yes.
the conquerors like you. So,
Yeah.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here. And
Thank you.
sir, we look forward for many more association with you.
Pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much, Suman. Thank you,
Yes,
Arjun.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah.
So, sir, before we wind up, sir, I would like to say bye to the audience as well.
Yeah.
So thank you, Conquerors, and the members of our groups and the non-members of our group for watching us. And it's been a pleasure to, share such a wonderful, inspiring real-life story of a good patient, Mr. Rajneesh Singh. And we'll keep looking forward to share you many more real-life stories. So it's, as we discussed, it's not about we are claiming that cancer is easy or cancer is curable. But today the technology has changed so much, things have become far much better, and the doctors have come up with a lot of solutions with various things. But exceptions, as I said, मौत को तो बहाना चाहिए, तो वो किसी भी बहाने आएगी, पर why should we die every day thinking about that? That is what the real
Absolutely.
message we as a support group or a warriors or a survivors would like to convey, that we are not saying that there is no death, but we are saying that why to die every day, just live in a moment. So that is our messages, and we'll keep inspiring you. We'll keep coming with various inspiring conquerors to share their journey with you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Rajneesh sir, and have a
Thank you.
safe
Bye.
journey.
Thank you.
Enjoy your
Bye.
trip.
Bye. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.